Well, what an interesting event UFC 295 was. I am Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker, an MMA show largely, but also throwing some lots of sports I like to talk about. I like to talk sports, and the main sport that I enjoy is mixed martial arts, so that's what I generally focus on, but I do like to throw some NFL and stuff in there as well. So this episode I'm going to be focusing on the aftermath of UFC 295, looking forward to maybe some matchups to make for the winners and losers, and there's not really been that much in the news this week, so I'll just be mostly discussing that point. So let's get cracking. So the event on the whole was really good. I mean, you had some absolutely incredible fights. Overall, my betting wasn't too bad. If you check out my channel, I do some terrible bets. My bets, I do like one on the whole card, basically. The entire card, start to finish, do win-loss down the whole thing. I think I got 9 on the card. Bearing in mind, one ended in a draw. So, that one doesn't really count. I got 9. 9 out of the whole card, which is, what is that, 9 out of 12? Something like that? Either way. Did pretty well. Managed to predict Jessica Andrade was probably one of my best predictions. She did absolutely brilliantly. I did think that. I thought that Mackenzie Dern might end up trying to get into a firefight with Andrade, and that's a mistake. That's a mistake. So, but before I go too far into that, were there any major surprises on the undercards? Not really. Jared Gordon beat Mark Madsen. I didn't honestly see that coming. He got a round 1 knockout as well. Good for him. Would like to point out that I was right again. Look, you need to start paying attention to my videos, because I had one fight earmarked. This is the second time in a row I've got this correct. One fight earmarked: Nazim Sadikov versus Vyacheslav Borshev. I said that one's probably going to be fight of the night. Look at that, fight of the night. The one that ended in a draw. I hope they run that back. I would watch those two fight each other every day of the week. Absolutely fantastic. I'm not even going to say who should be next to them. I think they should run that back for our own entertainment, if for nothing else. Come on, guys. So yeah, if you want to, look, I mentioned this in my casuals guide. If you want to know the fights to really look out for, I earmarked that one. I said that one to me has fight of the night written all over it, because you just look at their styles. Just look at their styles. Gutted that Tabitha Ricci lost. It was a pretty close fight, split decision loss, but she's still a winner in my eyes, because I am in love with her. I'm not. I won't pretend I'm not. She is fantastic, brilliant fighter as well. She's really fun to watch. I'm just such a huge fan. Diogo Lopez looked fantastic against Pat Sabatini. I did think that this was likely to happen. Just a very, very good performance. So that was at featherweight. I wonder who you give him next. So was Sabatini ranked? I don't know if he was, Probably another. Give Diogo Lopez another unranked, and then maybe start thinking about where he sits in featherweight. Oh, you could give him someone like an Edson Barboza. Ooh, an Edson Barboza against Diego Lopez. I don't know, I'd like that. That'd be pretty fun. Benoit Saint Denis, I had him by submission, but a win's a win. He got a lovely first round knockout over Matt Frivola. Clipped him. Got him real nice. I'm a huge fan of Benoit Saint Denis. Have been for a while. I've been talking him up for a little bit. Great call out afterwards as well. He was saying how he'd like to fight Justin Gaethje. I would love to see that fight. I think that, honestly, Benoit Saint Denis, he's tough as old boots. Former, French special forces. Just a savage on the ground. On the ground, absolute savage. He's so good, so skilled. On the feet, he's just tough. And also, you saw his striking there against Frivola was just absolutely top class. I think you put him against any of the top 10, you can't count Benoit Saint Denis out. That's why I think it was a good call out. He called out Mateusz Gamrot, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. A win over any of those three, and you are looking at getting into it. He's had a meteoric rise. He really has. And rightfully so, because he's brilliant. I think you put him against any of those three, it'll be a tough fight, because those guys are really good. But you can't count Saint Denis out of those ones. Looking at his skill level and looking what he's doing to people. You know what I mean? And as for Islam Makhachev, I'd just like to say it here first. Benoit Saint Denis beats Islam Makhachev. There you go. There you go. Like that. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I think it's probable. I think that his skill set is actually a real problem for most people because he doesn't have any real glaring weaknesses, but he is like seriously above average in every facet of the game. Great fighter. Great fighter. Congratulations to Benoit Saint Denis. I'm just looking forward to seeing. I want to see Benoit Saint Denis get a huge matchup next. I want to see him get a Mateusz Gamrot, an Armin Sarukian, a Dustin Poirier, a Justin Gaethje. I want to see one of those fights because that man should be in title contention. Like, he just should be. He's very, very good. Jessica Andrade, I did touch on this earlier. She looked fantastic. But I thought, look, Jessica Andrade looked fantastic, but was it a tactical error by Mackenzie Dern? Yes, in a nutshell, it was. Why Mackenzie Dern thought her best path to victory was to stand and kickbox with somebody who's as good a Muay Thai kickboxer as you get in the ladies' UFC. Like, not even just division, it's just in female MMA in general, you don't get many better kickboxers than Jessica Andrade. The whole time her defense was tight. You know, she just looked, the power, the speed, the accuracy, it was all there. Mackenzie Dern, the only thing that was there was her chin. She was sticking it right out the whole time, as she always does when she gets into these stand-up battles, which she needs to just start shying away from. She needs to find a way to either, like, to get good enough at stand-up that she doesn't get creamed like that, or just get good enough at stand-up so she can shoot a takedown and get the fight to the ground, because that's literally, that's all she needs to do. If it had gone to the ground, it could have been a different fight. But it didn't, and Andrade she whooped her. She just did. There was no two ways about it. Andrade was an underdog in that one, not for nothing. Just to let you know. That was exactly my pick as well. I did have Andrade by knockout. Or was it decision? Either way, I picked the right winner. And the interim heavyweight title bout, really it's the heavyweight title. Let's be real. Come on. So yeah, I'm going to go into this one in more detail because I actually got an email from one of my viewers. Josh, thanks for emailing. I really appreciate it. It's it's because to touch on your point, basically, I'll whittle it down to should they move on from Stipe versus Jones? What do they do with Aspinall now that he's won the interim heavyweight title? Well, first of all, let's look at the performance. The performance was unbelievable because you got someone in Tom Aspinall who seemingly, I thought his best path to victory here would be to take the fight to the ground because Tom Aspinall, believe it or not, on the ground is just even more frightening than he is on the feet. He's like a hot knife through butter. I don't think Pavlovich would have had anything for him on the ground. I really don't. But on the feet, I thought, this is going to be... there were a couple of moments in that first round where Pavlovich was throwing some heat and I was like, oh, fucking hell, Tom. Tom did manage to keep out of the way of them because he's very, very quick. And this is the difference between Tom Aspinall and some of the guys that we've seen Sergey Pavlovich just go ploughing through. Tom Aspinall was not there to be hit necessarily, and that was the difference. And Aspinall's in and out, and then he was in, and it was the first shot that got him. You saw Pavlovich's eyes just go in different directions. Basically, he turned the lights off, and then the second one put him down, and those 3 hammer fists on the ground, not required. But did we like him? Oh yeah, we did. And then you've got the new interim heavyweight champion of the world, and therein lies the problem. John Jones, when did he win the heavyweight title? What was that, January? Was it January? It could have been. It wasn't. I think it's coming up to a year now. It must be nearly a year. So he's not going to be back in time for that. I don't know why they haven't just stripped John of the title and put it on Aspinall. And that if John then wants to come back, then fair play, do Aspinall versus Jones. But the heavyweight division has to move on at a certain point. And the problem is, look, I wanted to see Jones against Stipe. And the time was right to do that. To have these two as number one contenders, perfect. Jones versus Stipe, you can still make the argument, you know, Stipe only lost to Francis Ngannou. He's the most decorated heavyweight in the history of the UFC. Got John Jones, who's undefeated, came up, beat Cyril Gane, is the champion. That's the time to do that fight. Having an interim champion in there makes it messy. It just does. From perspective of the fans of trying to sell the fight, it does make Stipe versus Jones a tougher sell, in my opinion. I feel like that there's a shelf life on Stipe versus Jones, and we may have just gone past it. When you see Tom Aspinall take out one of the most dangerous guys in the division in that fashion, you kind of have to think, well, when are they realistically going to be able to do Stipe versus Jones? Stipe, like, Jones has just had surgery. He's likely not back for another 4 months. Do they now ice the heavyweight division until then? What? You can't have Tom Aspinall defending an interim heavyweight title. If he puts his hand up to defend, not being funny, but that then has to be the legitimate title. They have to strip Jones and they have to put the full title on Aspinall. You can't have an interim champion being defended. And also, like, how do you have an interim heavyweight champion and then not have the heavyweight champion fight the interim champion in their first fight back? They're still talking about doing Stipe versus Jones. That now makes no sense. The fact that we have an interim heavyweight champion now, it makes no sense to do Jones versus Stipe for the heavyweight title because it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. The interim champion needs to fight the champion. Otherwise, what was the point in doing that for an interim championship? I understand that putting more belts on the line sells more pay-per-views, and I understand that from a business perspective. But surely you have to have some form of credibility as well. And I feel like if you have John Jones coming back from his injury as the heavyweight champion and fighting anybody that isn't the interim heavyweight champion, at the moment that's Tom Aspinall, I feel like that removes a lot of the credibility from what they're trying to do with the UFC. One of the biggest selling points of the UFC is that they have the best fighting the best and that they have control over these matchups. And when you start messing around with it in the way that they have, you're going to start losing some of that credibility. And that is my opinion, but it's not even just opinion. It is kind of a fact. It does shake some of that credibility. I don't think I'm out of my mind for thinking that. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that doing Stipe versus Jones, now that we have an interim champion, is the right thing to do? Let me know. It's all a rich discussion point, and I like having a discussion about it. Then you had Jiri Prochazka against Alex Pereira. Again, this one that I called. I did think that Pereira was going to get the knockout because Jiri does leave his chin out there too much. I'll tell you what, Jiri was tagging him though. He tagged him with some lovely shots because it's like he was just hot, like he just throws from ridiculous angles. It's like, you can't read what Jiri Prochazka's about to do because he doesn't know what he's about to do. He has no idea where he's throwing from next. And therein lies some of the fun. And it was a fun matchup for as long as it lasted. I thought that Pereira did a great job with those leg kicks. I think we all thought that might be a slight issue for Jiri Prochazka just because those leg kicks, I mean, you looked at the state of Jiri's leg, it was absolutely nasty. Now, a lot of people are calling this one an early stoppage. At first, when I watched it in real time, did I think it was slightly early? Yes, I did. But on the replays, when you look at how Jiri was holding and then, like, you know, a couple of those elbows landed and the grip just went and he fell backwards, that's a very negative kind of body language for a referee to be looking at. Mark Goddard, he didn't call that early. I think he called it exactly right, exactly perfectly. Because even Jiri Prochazka said that he had no complaints about the stoppage and that he was out. So a lot of people are saying that Mark Goddard did a terrible job. I think Mark Goddard did a pin perfect job. Like, I think that to be able to call that fight at exactly that right time was very difficult to do, and I think he did it absolutely perfectly. I feel like there's very few referees, very few human beings that would be able to spot that, actually, because in real time I didn't spot it. And, you know, fair play to Mark Goddard. Mark Goddard is possibly the best in the business. He really, really is. He's so good at what he does. The refereeing job is not an easy one. Do you know what I mean? You too early, you get shouted at. Too late, you get accused of wanting the fighters to die. But God, I did that perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And it was a lovely end to a lovely card. I really did enjoy that card. So that's basically the recap of UFC 295. There hasn't been a huge amount going on in the news this week, so that's about all I've got time for, really. You've got Brendan Allen against Paul Craig next up, and that's going to be... When is it? November 18th. November 18th. So that is this week. I've been messing up a few times doing casuals guides a week before they're needed. But anyway, yeah, Allen versus Craig. That's a hell of a fight. I really like that one. Morales versus Matthews. That's good. Leavitt versus Hooper. There's a couple of good fights on here, honestly. Amanda Hebas is back in action. Ulas Medics is back in action. Who else is on here on the early prelims? Oh, Christian Leroy Duncan. Yeah, I'm into that. He's that kickboxer, the middleweight kickboxer from the UK. Really, really good. So anyway, yeah, there's some good fights on there. I'll be doing a casuals guide, as always, and putting on some terrible bets. So like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.